I'm Connie Whitman, your host, and you're listening to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.net. Thanks for joining me. All right, so my motivational quote is by the absolutely brilliant Napoleon Hill, and he says, "The reason man may become the master of his own destiny is because he has the power to influence his own subconscious mind." Do you feel stuck in your current situation? Maybe you hate your job, but you need the money, so what do? You deal with it. Or are you in a relationship that maybe feels stifling, but you're afraid to be alone? Are you able to think clearly enough to move forward and change your situation? Maybe you just don't know how to do it. So here's a fun fact. Did you know that our subconscious mind is in charge 90% of the time and actually is the one in control of our life? And did you know that the unconscious and conscious mind could have two very different agendas? And when they do, what happens is a battle ensues between the two minds, and it causes stress, negative thoughts, and behaviors and emotions that eventually can cause disease and bad things in our lives. Mirrored things and just recurring bad events. So you guessed it, our subconscious mind is in control. That's crazy. So how do we gain control over this unconscious mind? Well, you're in store today. My guest is Sally Tennant. Now, Sally has more than a decade of training and working with clients in various healing and energy modalities. Her energy work has led her to her current practice. It's called Healing Through Your Mindset. And she's also the creator of the Enlightenment technique. Now, the Enlightenment technique is a quick and easy method to identify and reset those limiting subconscious beliefs and patterns of behaviors that cause stress in our body and just basically the hardship in our life. Now, this technique combines the use of quantum physics, which we've all heard about, clinical kinesiology, that's the muscle testing, and energy psychology, which I find just fascinating. For her work in health and wellness, Sally has been featured on CUTV Talk Radio and was named CUTV Newswomen of the Year in 2016. She's a member of the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology as well. So please, with that wonderful introduction, help me welcome my wonderful guest, Sally Tennant. So Sal, thanks for being on the show.
I love being on the show.
I know, I love having you. Look, we're gonna have fun today. Now, I think we all know, or at least we think we know in the abstract about that conscious, subconscious mind, but can you kind of break them down for us so we really understand what we're talking about today and ground the conversation?
Yeah, and it's really interesting because there's a lot of talk about it, but what is it really? And the subconscious mind is just like a computer, basically. It takes in everything around you, and it's monitoring everything at all times. No matter what you're doing, even if you're thinking, the subconscious mind is taking everything else in, and it's just programmed. And it doesn't think, it's not creative, it just learns. It learns, period, and that's what it does. And it can respond to over 40 million nerve impulses per second. So it's going all the time. It's really an amazing computer. I like to think of it as your operating system, as your computer that's constantly thinking, not thinking, but reacting. That's what it does, and taking stuff in. And so that's your subconscious or unconscious mind, and it's programmed in childhood. I mean, think about it. It's from the time that you're born, your subconscious is taking everything in around you. So that's pretty amazing. And now you have your conscious mind, your thinking mind, which defines who you are, at least you think so. You have aspirations with it, you're thinking all the time. But the funny part is that it can only process 40 nerve impulses per second.
So what a difference, 40 million? Right?
Right. Who is in charge, really? And so bringing the two together is really important so that everybody's on board at the same time. And that's what I think is really important for people. So if your conscious mind, when you're thinking, your subconscious is actually doing everything for you. So we think we're in charge when we're thinking, but we're not.
So the reality, Sally, is though that we really can't control our unconscious mind because it's kind of sub level, right? It's unconscious. We can do things to change those core belief systems because I think our unconscious mind is kind of on autopilot too, right? It reacts based on the information it's been given over our lifetime, right?
All the time.
All the time.
That's where, our self-sabotage programs come in, our phobias, fear, stuff we can't talk ourselves out of. And that's our subconscious just reacting as it's learned to react over time.
Yeah. I want to use the example. Now, Sally and I have been working together. She's been helping me with some of my limiting beliefs. And, oh, by the way, you all have them. We don't think we do. Oh, you do. Right, Sal? Oh, and I have plenty to work from. I was a very good specimen, right, Sal?
Yes.
I want to talk about the one session we had and I think it was that we uncovered that I felt that my house had to be really, really, really clean, because if it wasn't clean, it meant that I was a dirty person, which I'm not, right? So when we uncovered that, I think I said to you, I'm like, what? My house is very clean. I'm crazy about cleaning the house. And it went back to when I was a kid. My mom, there was 4 of us in the house, 4 kids, my mom, dad, and 4 kids. 3 of us were girls. So we all, and my brother had chores too. But whenever my mom would come home, she would say, oh, we have to clean this house. It's filthy dirty. And I would look, because my mother was also a very clean person. Our house was never dirty. And I would look around and go, oh, it's filthy dirty. Why don't I see the filthy dirty? Right, Sal? And this was uncovered. Now, fast forward in my adult life with my house, there was a subconscious belief that if, I took a day off and I didn't wash the dishes, which of course I always do wash the dishes, but, I didn't wipe the table down or I didn't dust, that I was filthy dirty, which is a ridiculous thing. But the bottom line, Sal, right? It was holding me back in other ways.
Right.
And that's where that self-sabotaging, those limiting beliefs hold us back. So, you're listening to this, and for anybody that knows me, I shower daily, I'm groomed. My house, for those that have been to my house, it's always tidy. I am a very organized person, so things are never out of place. So you would think, why would that even enter her life? And my answer is, who the heck knows? But it clearly was holding me back from, right, Sally, from my self-worth issues and all these other things. It was so, and I think, Sally, in that session, I said, oh my God, I haven't thought about that in like 50 years.
Right. You're not going to think about that because it's a daily, everyday happening.
Yeah. So that's kind of the example. That's a good example, right, of what you're talking about.
Yes,
okay.
It's a very good example because it's typically these things come up because in your childhood, it was just routine. I mean, this is who mom was, but you heard that all the time.
Repeated.
And your subconscious goes, oh, got to keep a clean house. There's dirt all over the place. It's really amazing, the different things that come up for people. And when we're working on stuff, you never know what's going to come up. I mean, you could set a goal to make more money or whatever it might be, and the issues that come up, you would never think are going to come up, ever.
Well, and you wouldn't, like I did, I'm like, wow, that's holding me back from whatever the goal was that we were talking about that day. And I just want to comment also, Sally, my mom was an amazing mom. She's an amazing grandmother, right? She didn't say anything wrong. To her, it was her way of saying, guys, come on, we really need to clean the house. And she would just throw in, it's filthy dirty. Even though it had dust, but it wasn't filthy dirty, right? So, I just want everybody to understand things are said to us in childhood. Maybe that was just an expression that my grandmother used, my mother picked up and then used it with myself and my siblings. So again, I want to footnote that there's never any, they didn't do it to hurt us, right, Sal? We have to understand that too. It's just things that are said and then we hold on to them.
Yeah, I mean, people repeat what they've learned, and I mean, it's just the way it is for all of us. I mean, there's not one of us walking around that isn't programmed by the people around us, and they were programmed too. So you have to remember, parents are never doing anything to hurt their children, ever. They just don't realize many times that everything that they say, every word is going into their child's subconscious. And children are children. They interpret things the way they interpret things. And you never know what that might be because they're not adult yet and they're not thinking as an adult. Correct. So, you know, it comes up many times in phobias. When I'm working with phobias, I say, okay, what's the story? And then you can see as we get into the story, okay, here you are, you're at your child. This is a 5-year-old, this is a 3-year-old, you know, here we are at that, because they get very distorted at those ages because it's a child. So it's really interesting what comes up for people when working on different things.
Yeah, that, and again, like that one, right? We were hysterical in the session. And again, I haven't thought of that in 50 years or 47 years, whatever it is. Who would have thought that something so simple and innocent, really it was innocent, could be holding me back with different aspects of my life? Now, how can we bring the two minds together, that conscious mind and that subconscious mind?
Well, one of the things that's very good is meditation. Anybody can do meditation. And the reason that it's good is because it quiets our conscious mind, our thinking mind. And this comes up so many times when I'm working with clients because they have to answer questions sometimes about, well, what happened at 7? Or, you know, what do you think that was? And they have to come up with wording for phobias and things like that. And their immediate conscious response is, I don't know. And I say, yes, you do. Because we just muscle tested and you said you knew. So what they have to do is I have to tell them all the time, get out of your head. Get out of your head and let it come from the subconscious. And so, but the thing is, once we clear out this stuff, then you have the two minds working together and there's an understanding because it's done at the conscious level. It's done at the unconscious level. It's done at the body level. And it's done at the soul level. So everybody's on board afterwards. And it's, once that happens, all the blah, 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 blah starts coming forward. You know, you're able to work together with your subconscious. And it's really important to do that because, you know, they talk about mindfulness and that kind of thing all the time. And what this does, it changes perception because now, you know, your subconscious no longer believes these crazy things. and it really changes perception. It becomes what the conscious mind wants, what the soul wants to become, you know, to do their soul mission, whatever it is, and to contribute during this lifetime and to live, eat, drink, and be merry.
Yes. Right? Yeah, and have the success and abundance and, you know, the happiness in our life that we all aspire to. I mean, let's face it, I think everybody aspires to that. So now you mentioned muscle testing. Can you just describe to everyone, I think a lot of people know what it is, but I think a lot of people don't, Sal.
Well, muscle testing, basically, there are many different ways to muscle test, but muscle testing is asking the body what's going on, because really your body is your subconscious mind. I mean, it's always being worked by the subconscious. So when you're muscle testing, you're getting true answers from the body. You're bypassing the conscious mind, and you're getting the true answers from the subconscious, because that's what we need to do. We need to know what's going on. So,
can you give a specific case or example of how you helped someone get control? You could use me if that helps, but where there was a like a start point, whatever that subconscious belief was, and then once you got everything in alignment through the muscle testing and everything, that this was the result that happens, and how frequently that takes place. Does it take a year? Does it take a minute? You know, and I know that varies, but can you give a success story, or just so people kind of ground it in a real life situation? I think that helps.
Well, I have a client that came in recently, a new client, and he had complaints of sinuses, and his stomach problems, he called it, and he wasn't eating properly, needing to use Ensure to keep his weight up, and that kind of thing. And so he came in, and I made a list of what are we going to work on, and I put him through my client intake form, and he came up with he felt he had diagnosis shock about being impaired, and I'm like, what's that? He's not impaired. And so we set that as the goal. And what came up was a trauma. Now, this gentleman's he's 82 now. Yeah. And it was a trauma, and we muscle tested. And the trauma was about 5 years ago, he was fired from his job. And he had all kinds of issues about being fired, phobias and things like this. And so we worked on that trauma, and that was the first time. And he had, all kinds of issues going on. The second time he came in, what did we work on then? I'm trying to think. I have it. Okay. Well, I know that when somebody isn't eating properly, and they're particularly at that age, and after a trauma like that, there's a possibility that they've turned off their life switch. Oh. Yeah. And they do it subconsciously. Again, there's a subconscious reason why they may have done that. And so what I did was I muscle tested him, and I said, is your life switch turned on? Nope. Okay, so would your goal today be to turn on your life switch? Yes. So we did that day. And he was amazed. What he said to me was that I can't believe that this thing is affecting me so much. That this trauma, now he didn't call it a trauma, that incident had affected his life so much. And so anyway, we did the life switch thing. And the third time he came in, we worked on his appetite. And he told me, though, when he came in, that he was slowly starting to eat more, even after turning on the life switch. So that was a good thing.
Yeah.
And I actually just ran into him last night. One of the things that was happening with him also was he was starting to become fearful about doing things and moving forward. He was frozen. He was frozen in that trauma. I mean, just frozen. It was amazing. And here's a man who he was a counselor in a college. He also, in his lifetime, he paints. Wow. He also started an animal shelter in Jersey City with some other people. So this man has a lot to offer. He's still up and about. But he was frozen in that trauma. Ugh. So, and he had been thinking about going to Ireland, and he was afraid to go and he's been there. It's his second home. Okay, Ireland is his second home. He stays with people over there. He knows everybody. He knows the town. And he said, when he first came in, I'd like to go, but I have nobody to go with me. And I'm a little bit hesitant. And he's made plans to go. He's going. So that got out of the trauma, because there was a trauma of the thinking he's impaired because of this trauma. So now he's going to Ireland. He's made his plans. And I just ran into him last night, and he says, I'm eating a lot better. And actually I ran into him. My husband and I went to a restaurant, and he sat next to me, and he ate very well. So I'm like, this is what happens. I mean, here's a man who has so much to offer, but was stuck in this trauma and had actually turned his life switch off because of it. And it's back on, and he's going to move forward, and he's going to go to Ireland. And I'm just really, when you see things like that, and that's after 3 times, three sessions.
Which is remarkable. And here's the other thing, we're talking that we have these experiences from childhood, but things happen to us as adults where it goes bam, and it knocks the wind out of your sails, and we think I'm dealing with it, when in reality our unconscious mind is taking all of those ill feelings, we push them down, and then they get stuck in the subconscious, and then that's where he actually physically caused disease, the poor man, where he wasn't eating, right? He had to eat, ensure his stomach was upset, all of these things, the sinus issues. It's so sad what we do to ourselves. We do it to ourselves, though. That's the kicker, right?
Yeah. And interestingly enough, at the last session when we were working on the hunger issue, he'd been to his doctor for sinuses down at the University of Pennsylvania, and they couldn't find anything, all right? And so he had a conflict of parts, which there was a conflict between his head part and his stomach part. And the head part said, I'm congested. And so after the session, he goes, oh, my head feels better. My sinuses feel better. So everything, who knows what's affecting what? That's what I say. It's amazing when you look at this stuff, that all of these things are all connected somehow.
Well, and the brain is a powerful thing, and behind everything is these disconnects or connects within the brain, because that affects our entire body and our entire health system. Now, what are if you had to pick, what are 3 main advantages that you think you see repeatedly that your clients, the results your clients get? Is there like 3 main things that you think are benefits?
Well, they're struggling to move forward in some kind of a relationship aspect of their life. And it could be relationship with body, it could be relationship. I mean, everything is about relationships. And they're stuck. They're struggling because they're stuck. And they may know why, and they may not know why. So they come to see me to get answers and creative solutions. And that's what they get. They get that. That's number 1. Number 2, what is number 2? Well, they want fast results, right? They want results. And so that's something else that they get here. They get results. And then they can move. The third thing is they start moving forward in life. They can make a bigger difference in life and lead a happier life. And that's what this work does for people.
Yeah, and that was a great example. This gentleman who breaks thriving, giving back, working, my goodness, into his 80s. It's just fabulous. Or at least into his late 70s. Amazing, right? Talk about having good spirit and good energy and something to give back and all of those things. And then somebody fires you, maybe he was slowing down, whatever the reason is that an organization would fire him, but it was enough to devastate him because he's probably been working since the age of 11. So not having a place to get up and go to work probably freaked him out. And then you have, again, all of this, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm old now, I shouldn't travel, oh my goodness. And then the stomach and the head and all of these things. So the funny thing is, Sal, though, that a lot of our crap really comes, yes, through all of these life events that occur over time, but a lot of them come from when we were kids. And I know that you and I uncovered a lot of stuff from my childhood. And again, I want to go back, anybody listening that knows me and knows my family, it had nothing to do with my parents or my parents doing anything wacky. It's just how an event happened in front of me as a child, and how I processed that information, interpreted that information, and then it becomes actually part of your energy, right? Your cells absorb that stuff, right? Whatever it is, that event, those emotions, and then they cause these issues later in life. And I know, Sally, I have money issues. I've said that before on the show. And oh, by the way, don't think you're so special out there. You all have money issues, right? We all have money issues. So we had money issues, self-worth issues, absolutely, which is so funny too, Sal, because you've met me. Right, we've met at networking events. We've become close over the last year or so, and I don't know. One of the sessions, Sal said, "Well, this is kind of weird because you're kind of strong." And then whatever the issue was something that, right, Sally, you were like, "I never would have thought that for you because I'm strong and I keep moving forward." But I'm human inside, and I have that inner child like we all do. And I think that, right, Sally, is a lot of where our crap comes from, is that inner child where you don't have the confidence and you're unsure of yourself and you're going through puberty or whatever it is, that we have this just stuff that we're dealing with, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that it's always there.
Always.
And so if you're within a situation where the subconscious is being triggered, you're also going to be putting that energy out. And people pick up on it because we're all energy, really, and so they're feeling it. And so how is that going to react? How is somebody else's subconscious going to react to that? So it's really interesting to me. The best thing to do is to actually, let's get rid of this stuff because it's in your way. It's in your way in many different ways, and you don't even know it.
And we have layers. That's the other thing that we discovered, or I discovered working with you. There's layers of things, and they seem be like ridiculously unrelated, but that when we started to peel back and dig in, you're like, oh, that makes sense now. So that was kind of an interesting byproduct for me. We're like, what? We're over here, and yet somehow they're connected. The other thing too, Sal, I think that what happens for people, how many of you listening or watching have a recurring pattern, same relationship with business partner or a colleague, and then that person leaves, somebody comes in, or you're working with someone else in another division, and that same core disharmony happens with this new person. There's that's the subconscious, Sally, that you're talking about, where we're mirroring or we're creating over and over and over and over again the same events to happen because of this subconscious energy that we're putting out there.
Yeah, and it's self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage.
And everybody knows that. How many times do you say, why did I do that? Why did I do that again? Because the subconscious is reacting to a stimulus, right? Whatever is happening around you, boom, subconscious does the same thing over and over and over again until it gets reset. New information.
Right, rewired, rebooted, a different path, and then you're able to get a different result. That's the bottom line. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So our subconscious, it learns something, it holds it. And the other thing too, Sally, I think you taught me, is that once the subconscious or unconscious learns something, it will find ways in our conscious level to say, yep, that's right, that's why that's happening. Yep, that's right, that's why that's happening. It'll reinforce what our unconscious memory or thought is holding on to. Correct? Didn't you teach me that?
Yeah. What happens is, there are some times that I'll sit down with a client and they've got this subconscious stuff going on, and they look at me and they're like, but that's true. I'm like, okay, so you've been living this long enough to believe it, and it's not true. It's not working for you. How is that working for you? It's not.
That's right.
But they'll sit there and argue with me and say, no, that's true. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Let's just, do this.
Let's reset it. Yeah, let's reset it and see what the results. Because for me, the proof is always in the results, right? Results. That's exactly right. So I think that what you offer is it for me, at least, because Sally, you and I have talked for the past 15 years. maybe even a little bit longer. I've done a lot of internal self-assessing and working on and reading and meditating and all these things to try to create a healthier me. And for me, it always goes back to being your better self. I think we're all amazing the way we are. But for me, I want to age gracefully. I want to be healthy. I don't want to have ailments pop up. So the only way to I think keep them at bay is to stay healthy, in my mind, and then that creates ease within my body and flow and life and happiness. And when we're happier, we're healthier, and all those things that go together. So for me, I feel like you eliminated some of those limiting beliefs, but absolutely sabotaging beliefs that. And the funny thing was, Sally, because I'm a control freak and I think a lot. And I'm like, what? Like, where did that come from? And then again, we dug, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. The filthy dirty. Now I remember that. It was bizarre things that we haven't thought about, but as soon as you get to it, you can reset it, and then it's gone. And I don't have those issues of self-worth where people are going to think I'm dirty. It's so weird. Even when I say it, I laugh because it's ridiculous. But it wasn't ridiculous just a few weeks ago. So that resetting, I think, is real important. And it's painless too, Sal, right? That there's no drugs involved. There's no, putting wires on my head or any of these weirdo kind of things, right? So guys, listen, if you would like more information or to connect with Sally, I'm going to give you 2 pieces of information. First, her website. Go to healingthroughyourmindset.com, which says it all, and through is spelt out THROUGH. So healingthroughyourmindset.com, or you can email Sally. I love her email address is sallyhasmail@gmail.com. So reach out to her directly if you have any questions. But go on the website, see what she's all about. I recommend it. The funny thing too, Sally, is it's fun. We laughed a lot. When we got to root causes, you forced me to think about things that, not that were uncomfortable to think about, just that I had never thought about. So you stop, you think, and you reset things that you wouldn't even know to think about to reset. So I think that for me was the biggest takeaway or biggest benefit, that you helped me fast forward to get to like the direct piece that I needed to work on. So again, healingthroughyourmindset.com or sallyhasmail@gmail.com. Also, guys, if you need me, you need information with your work stuff, coaching, sales, leadership, whatever in that realm that I can help you with, reach out to me directly at Connie@whitmanassoc.com, and I promise I will be the one responding to you. I don't have people do that for me. For me, business and the people I work with, it's personal, and so reach out to me at Connie@whitmanassoc.com. Last, go to wisdomdecoded.com. My partner and I are still offering a free communication style assessment. You get a little report with that. Sally, I think you took it too, the CSA, and it gives you a little insight into how you're kind of wired, how you communicate, and how people are receiving your message, which is another tool to help us to become even better at work and as well as in our personal lives with relationships. Sally, thank you so much for being on and sharing the magic that I think you create in helping people use what they have and tapping into what the answers we already have within us. We don't know how to get them out and how to correct them or reset them. So thank you for helping with that, and thank you for helping me and for being on the show to share your expertise.
Can I just tell people too?
Sure.
Go to the website, and on the homepage there's a sleep meditation for people.
Yes.
It's free, and download it. I've been getting really good feedback on it. So
awesome.
It's designed to help people get to sleep and to sleep through the night. And it's working very well for a lot of people right now. Awesome.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. And now again, you all could sleep better too. we all have the same issue, Sal, I'm telling you. Yep. It's funny, but it's not, right, at the same time. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together how to challenge ourselves. Here's yet another example of a tool to help us challenge ourselves so that we can grow and just embrace change, whatever that means to you, and just become our greatest, awesome self so that we give more to the world. Thank you for joining me, Sally. Again, thanks for being on and for sharing just some great stories and ideas, and I hope everybody appreciated my stories as well. So thanks a lot for being on.
Oh, you're welcome. Have fun.
Yeah, always a pleasure. always a pleasure. You've been listening to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host Connie Whitman on webtalkradio.net. Thank you everyone for joining us. I really hope you have a wonderful and just a life-inspiring week. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in.